measure set up, and it's been brilliant.
And it worked.
And it worked. Yeah.
I'm all yours.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to have you. I'm so excited you said yes.
Well, you made it so easy. You made it irresistible.
I try. I'm like, I'm sending everything but flowers.
I think I have some
Which I
flowers.
may even do that next time. We'll see.
I think I'm in Hawaii, so I've got flowers. We're good.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody to today's Eat and Greet. And hopefully in the next hour or so, we're going to be together. We're going to give you something that is worth the time you took to show up. And I am excited because I went on the internet, you guys, and I found Miss Element herself, Miss Debra Silverman. Love it. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank
so
you.
happy.
I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing. We're on the same mission. And this is such an important job right now while Jupiter just entered Aquarius. Some of us have to really pay attention to how to bring the joy of universal diversity back to the planet.
Yes. And, it's funny because I like to watch the history of astrology, and it's like every so often we become the hot ticket item, and we're in again. I'm like, we're in again, guys. Get it together, get your education, practice, bring it to people because we're in
Are we live right now on YouTube?
live on the internet.
Okay, well, the good news is my school is coming to sale on January the 19th. So, live time, only twice a year is the school open. So, anyone who seriously wants to take what you just said to heart and bring astrology to the masses or learn their own skill set so they can become an astrologer, just turn to the right.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure that that link is in the description box down below so people can get signed up. Beautiful program. And this is just the time. I don't know about you, but I've been feeling this very big call and this sense of duty to the future generations of astrology, where I am just like, we've got to help the people learn. It's
Oh,
not a secret. It's
yes.
not behind the veil. This is changing lives. We've got to get to our students.
And do you know that we have hundreds and thousands of students from around the world that come? We're in our 6th year.
Yeah,
We
it's a big
collect
deal.
from all over. We have people from Japan, from Australia, from Switzerland, from Africa. Like I don't know how they find us. But your point is well taken. We've got to share with people this message that diversity and universal understanding from the highest perspective. I always want to say, everybody, come with me and get high. we're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna come up to the stars. You're gonna stand up here. You're gonna look back, and all of a sudden, we look so cute from up there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting caught in the unbelievable pain body of the human condition down here. So we give a leverage. It's like an elevator. Come on up, take a little angle of the observer's point of view, and from there you see through the eyes of love and compassion. And suddenly these weird human beings have a fascinating matrix called astrology.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like there are so many of the younger generation that are astrologers. They're just astrologers. That's flat out. It's like we're just astrologers. So we have to make sure the space is open for them to get what
How
they're.
did you find out you were? How old were you when you found it?
I was about 6. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to see things and move between the worlds, to know that there was more than one world was very common. My mom took me to a metaphysical fair and numerology, tarot, all of that. And I watched this woman doing an astrology chart, and I wasn't watching her. I was recalling what she was doing. And that was it.
You were 6?
Yeah. And it just was what it was. And here it is.
And then when did you get trained?
Oh man, I started doing the self-study route for a very, very long time. And then I came up, found Stephen Forrest and got around in there. And then I found Noel Till's line in this last year. And that's where I've been.
That's so interesting because same for me. I was living in Detroit. The Detroit comics, can you imagine this? In the Sunday magazine of the Detroit News, there was an article that said, I swear this is you're going to be shocked. This is 1967. And it says, get your chart done. I'm only little. I just learned in school how to address an envelope. I remember addressing the envelope, and I sent out for my chart, and I was literally 10 years old.
Yeah.
So those of you that are watching who have been called to astrology, you've either been reading about it, you've been flirting with it. You go read all these books in the bookstore. You're going online, watching all of our videos. It's time for you to study. And I make it so simple because this is politically incorrect. I'm a little retarded. I think it's called remedial. Like my Mercury's in Taurus, so I have to learn slowly. So I made the school very simple, but by the end of 6 weeks, you are fully learning the planets, the signs, and your chart. You study your chart. The way that I teach is if you learn about yourself first, and you really unpack your psychology, because I have a master's in clinical psych. Then level 2, you do the nuts and bolts and you get into all the technical. But I always start with the most interesting topic, which is your ego.
Right. Right. I'm always my most favorite thing to talk about until it's time to get real. And then I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. That's like super deep. Right.
So first we start with your chart, then we go into the nuts and bolts, and then the level 3, you actually become an astrologer. So if any of you are looking for a new career, because honestly, you're so right, the children, the young people, the millennials, they're starving to share wisdom that will make sense of this crazy world.
Absolutely. Well, and it's neat that we're just kind of talking about that level of learning and entry, because one of the things that we find out early on is that it's all elemental. We're already in it, we're already a part of it. There are these texts that are ancient and current that talk about everything holds every element. It's already around us. So let's use that. So whether you've been practicing forever, you're brand new, bring it back to the elements. What's happening in the elemental life?
And that's my book, The Missing Element? That's the name of my book. Yeah. So the name of my book is The Missing Element, and the subtitle is Compassion for the Human Condition, and it's based on the 4 elements. You don't need to know any astrology to read that first book. It's on Amazon, and all it talks about is, since the elders, every single, like in the tarot deck, the magician, the first card, first you enter in by the Fool, who jumps off a cliff and comes into this planet. What was he thinking? Hello, all of us have to ask that question. What were we thinking?
What was that?
Yeah, like, was I high? I wonder about that. Like, did someone push me on the bus, or how did I get here? Well, that was the Fool card. Then the next stop is the High Priestess, and she goes, everyone stop and pray, because now you're in a body and you need to really figure this thing out. Then the very next card is the Magician, who has 4 elements sitting on his table. And you cannot start this creative process called being human without mastering water, air, earth, and fire. So that's how I start. So you're so right.
Elemental. It's really interesting too, because I was reading Hermetica Triptycha by Gary Caton, and he was talking about the example of this log, and he said, all of the elements are always present. It's just if you choose to acknowledge them. And if you burn a log, the first thing it starts to do is weep. So we know that wood has water, right? As you continue to go on, you can see that it is the wood itself is the earth, and as it breaks down to ash, it's earth, and as it's burning, you can see the fire, and as it's moving around, you can see the air. And I was like, oh my God, it's all elemental. Gary Caton, what are you doing in my life?
Okay, so you enter this planet into your mother's womb, 9 months in water. The first thing you do when you land is take a deep breath. You come out of the womb and you do air. Then you spend the next how many years, 60 years, doing earth, getting practical, doing all the stuff from taxes to houses to insurance to making sure your car tires work. And then the fire cycle, which is what I'm headed towards. I'm almost headed towards 70. Can you imagine? And now I'm in the fire cycle, which is, okay, party time. And now we're going to enjoy the rest of this movie. So you spend only 9 months in water. You do air, which is going to school and using your mind and learning all those things till you're about 18, 19. Then you do from 20, 21, all the way to your second Saturn return 60, doing earth, practical, money, grounded. And then you get to the fire, and I'm headed towards the fire now.
Into the fire. That's how they say it.
And that's the fun part. And what's the fun part is I get to share astrology with everyone that's interested. It's like my favorite toy.
Yeah. Well,
have you seen my funny videos? Did you watch those funny videos?
Yes.
That's my fire.
That's your fire. Well, and it's just nice, I think, as I stay in this industry and alive, to watch different people at different phases of life live the elemental quality that is just really prevailing at that time. It's just, I feel like it's masterful. Almost.
It's true. It's true. And it goes through every single element, all of us. So this is what I love about, about the progressed moon? I'm sure you do.
Yes, ma'am.
And so it's the cycles I use during the progressive moon, and yours is at the tail end of Aquarius. I guess you know that.
Oh, I sure do. And I am disseminating my eyeballs off.
Exactly. You've been doing air for 2.5 years. You've been communicating and sharing, and you've got Einstein behind with funny colors. You're doing Aquarius right now. Lucky you.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm like, okay, when this train slows down, though, I'm going to take a real quiet nap. Like I'm going to become a monk.
You're going to be, that's so funny. Your progressive moon's going to go into Pisces in 4 months.
Yeah. And I'm like, the monk phase is upon us, friends.
It's true. So we're taking advantage of you being the communicator and networking all of us. You found all these astrologers to sew them together into a tapestry.
It's been amazing. And everybody has just said yes.
And they said, thank you, because my goodness, what would we do without Stormie? Like you, that's so funny. Your progressive was an Aquarius, your name is Stormie, and you brought all these Aquarians together. And about 4 months from now, she's going into her monk phase. I'm glad I got you here at the tail end.
That's right. Well, and it was neat to see it coming and to acknowledge, even in that progressed energy, like, okay, what is a primary elemental force I have to channel in and to become a part of at this time? And that's one way I work with it and teach people to work with their charts as well. If nothing else, if you can't channel anything else, move like water, move like air, close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. How do you move like air? Right? Use that because that is around you, that you can see.
Said the Taurus. So the elemental conversation is my favorite conversation. And if you are an advanced student, you know your progressed moon, and that element, just the element, describes a 2.5 year cycle. So we know Stormie's been in air. I'm personally in fire. I'm driving myself crazy. And as soon as it changed into fire, like, oh my God, I mean, really, my hairdo, like I've been watching the fire element all over me. But the gift is, the wisdom is, when you know the element that came to your house, you shake hands, you become friends, and you capitalize on it because it doesn't go away for 2.5 years.
Right.
You're at the
Right.
tail end. You got 4 months left. I'm only 4 months into the new one.
Yeah. Well, I just promise you, like, I probably have dropped like 15 pounds in the air energy. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sakes. Like,
Because you've
I've
been
been on the move. Yeah. I'm like, I'm a Taurus. I'm tired. Allow me to have some earth.
So if you guys want to know where your progressed moon is, there are astrologers on my site. You can just, because we are all trained in that. I train my students and my teachers to know, because it is so true what Stormie's saying. The element of the era that you're in needs to be understood and cultivated so you feel like you're in the flow state. Otherwise, you're up against your natural rhythm and the elements. You don't argue. You can't live without water. Think about it. You can't live without drinking water. You can't live without taking a deep breath, air. You can't live without food, earth, and you can't live without that sun, fire, and your heart, the red blood out of you. So we cannot live without these elements. They are the cornerstone of this existence, brought to you by astrology, the tarot, and every ancient wisdom source.
Yeah. Just all of them.
Just, just all of them.
All of them.
Yeah. I live in Hawaii, and this is how we do it. Water. You want to do it with me?
Oh, yeah.
You just 2 waves. Yep, that's water. Air, you put your hand over your head. And then on the other side, that's air. Earth is you just go flat to the ground. Just let your hands go flat. And fire, you clap and you look up to the sun.
Ooh.
That's hula. That's the 4 elements in hula. And in Hawaiian, where I live, in the culture, having studied hula, the whole system's based on the elements here. The entire Hawaiian culture is based on the 4 elements.
So
it goes everywhere. Egypt.
Yep. So when you see the next phase, and I have become a hula dancer under my progressed Pisces,
we'll recognize you.
You'll recognize exactly what just happened. So, okay, but let's take them back for just a minute. Let's say I don't know my progressed, I don't know any of that. I just am coming in, got my natal chart. How do we get people into the understanding of the elements, and how do we start to work with this?
Such a great question. So in my book, The Missing Element, there's a 5-minute questionnaire, and you answer 10 questions about water, 10 about air, 10 about earth, and you figure out which one's your strong one. You don't even need to know astrology. What's the strong element? What's the weak element? Because it's like 4 wheels in a car. So if one of the wheels is down, the car can't drive. So you want all 4 wheels to be balanced. Sure. So what does that mean? So if it's water and you can't cry and you don't know how to be quiet, and it's hard for you to meditate because it makes you nervous, and it's scary for you to be alone, then you haven't cultivated water. Then you read the chapter on water. If it's air and you cannot find your words and you don't like talking to people and you don't like socializing and you just want to study but you don't want to talk, then you've got air missing. If it's earth and you can't organize and money seems to be hard for you and you're always late and you find yourself not grounded, then earth is missing. And if it's fire and you lost your get up and go and your juju and you're not having fun anymore and you forgot to have orgasms, is it okay to say that?
Absolutely.
Yes, then your fire went out. So you want to figure out which of the four elements is your strengths, which one's down, how do you balance them? And then I swear to you, people's lives change like this. And the first class in our series, when I teach the school, the first whole class is just the elements, just this conversation. You're given homework. They figure out your missing element. And for that 6-week window while you're in school, you grow the missing element and things change.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And I think about a client that I had, and it was just that, like the fire had gone out, and it was so great to have the understanding of just bring it back to elements, because before we needed to get into anything else, we could address that conversation,
So simple.
and it is simple. The astrology chart, the disadvantage is that it gives us too much
Bingo.
information, too
Taurus.
many places to go.
Everything. My whole thing is less is more.
Mhm.
Keep it simple, because what we're talking about when you come for a reading or a consult is you want to figure out timing, like what's the era that I'm in. 2, you want to figure out what's my purpose. Like, why am I on this planet again? You can directly look at Saturn and the element. And then 3, you want to be able to fall in love with yourself. Because if you're not in love with yourself,
The rest is a real tricky ride, friends. Let me just say that to you from the perspective of a Libra stellium. So just get that together. Like, just think you're the cutest thing to ever happen, and the rest is in the bag.
You're so cute. So yeah, the ultimate goal is you want to be able to fall in love with you. And that's our school. That's what astrology is for. And is it so complicated? Yes. Do we make it so simple? Yes, because I'm a little slow. So I teach everything in very bite-sized bits that are so chewy that I feel like a drug dealer. By the end, everybody just wants more. They get addicted.
Yeah. Well, when you can take this complicated craft and feel into it and wrap even a tiny piece of the brain around it, there is, I think, a natural soul progression to, well, wait, what's next? Like anything else, when we can just feel into it, it's so good.
So you're missing water. I'm curious if, because so it goes two ways when you're, because you only have one planet on water in your chart. So it goes two ways when you're missing an element. Either God said, don't give her any more water because she's too sensitive, or she said she really needs to learn water, so we won't give her any, so she'll go study it. So which one are you?
Oh yeah, I've had to go study it. Plus, did you see that South Node in Capricorn? My children were born, and I'm like, I'm so grateful you're here. Do you do laundry, or do you have a job? What are you doing? So the genuine learn the, and I'm happy to say that work is well in process. Right? Like, I have found those emotions, no glossing for work, but yeah, sure. Absolutely. I had to get in there and learn that. And what an adventure. And sometimes
Okay,
it's so funny. I do have to watch, because I'll be like, there's no crying in baseball. What are you doing? Right. And I'm like, nah, I'm north noding it this time.
That's right.
All right. Get in there. Maybe how's that person feeling about that? And I'm like, oh, okay.
So what Stormie's saying is in her chart, and this is our simple first class in level 1. What's the missing element? We establish, is it an easy relationship? Is she able to cry or not? And then we help cultivate that missing element by giving you homework. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. And you know how I learned to do it was that big ass Libra stellium. I had to watch other people do it. I needed a mirror.
That's so wise. That's so wise. Yes, that's such a great way. Libras do learn from other people. It's their best trait. They ask a lot of questions, they study, they're always inquisitive, but not everyone has that. So if you're missing an element, how would you know? If you're afraid to cry, that's a clue, missing water. If you don't like to talk and you don't like to socialize and you think people are not worthy of your attention, that's missing air. if you don't have the gift of being able to ground, some people really don't know how, I know you do, but they don't know how to get shit done.
Yeah. Oh, I do.
I know. And then the last one is if you don't have fun. So that's the simplest entry level of how to play astrology. Of course, when we get to the advanced levels, now we're looking at the aspects and we're looking at the houses and we're looking specifically in my system at Saturn. That's my very favorite planet. So I focus a lot on the purpose and what you agreed to do and the cycles. We do a lot with the timing of Saturn.
Yeah. Oh, Saturn's a big deal. You know, I just was just given a talk this year about the Saturn, the initial Saturn ingress into a sign and that first retrograde it takes from that ingress. Cause I'm like, you got a whole boatload of information right there. And you probably experienced it, but you'll sort that out in that first retrograde. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry. But you
Yeah,
just had it last year. So not just 2020, but 2019 and 2020 was a Saturn cycle for you.
it was. Yes.
How
And
did you know what happened?
well, in this one, it was more super reward and stepping up and stepping in. But I'll tell you, I was watching Saturn's official movement into Aquarius. And I was like, Saturn, I got it. You're coming for something in my daily routine. What is it? And on ingress, my tooth. And so the culmination, and it was exactly what I built my talk on this year, well before it happened. And I was like, no, I have seen the cycles for people too many times. And so as the retrograde will complete, we'll finish the rest of the dental procedure. And it just confirmed to watch the Saturn cycle and
Did everyone know that Saturn rules the teeth? It's just
yeah,
so fun.
teeth and bones. And when Saturn went into Capricorn, I broke the other one on the other side. Yep.
Interesting. So this is a clue. That's so interesting. So there's 7-year cycles. That was your 7-year cycle last year, and now it just finished as of literally last week or 2 weeks ago. Saturn entered Aquarius. So you can look into your chart, you guys. This is part of what astrology teaches you in level 1 is the cycles.
Yep.
And it's just so wonderful to know. I figured it out because every 7 years, that's how it works. 7-year itch, they call it. I was watching how my world shifted. And then once I got the dates and once I got the patterns and once I got the element, it really changed my life too. I have Saturn in Sagittarius, so I'm lucky. I think I was like standing above looking at the chart before I came in. And I was like, can I just have a funny one? I mean, if I'm going to go down there, if you don't give me a sense of humor, I'm not going. So they
Right.
said, Saturn and Sag? Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think about things like that all the time where I'm like, I understand how this got in this chart because I know I wasn't coming without it. I know this was a negotiation point.
And you got such a sweet Libra. Look at your house. Look at all that light color behind you. Are you a color freak?
Yeah, absolutely. And my husband is beige. Like his favorite color is beige.
Yeah, he doesn't have 4 planets in Libra.
No, he's a super Aries.
Oh, so he's your opposite. And how long
Uh-huh.
have you been together?
Oh, we were friends for 6 years before we ever thought to date each other. We genuinely didn't think to date each other. And we've been together 5 now. We got married we're 28 days apart in birth. And we got married on our nodal returns, which we didn't plan. And that's the way that it lined up. And he's beige and I am just all of this.
It's so funny. Life is so funny.
Life is so funny. But so you guys out there, grab your chart, look at your elemental balance, see what's going on in that chart. And that is a great place to start. And if you're a little bit further along, definitely jump into your progressed energy because that will, I believe, work smarter, not harder. So if you cannot work against the phase of your life, your lunar phase, your elemental balance in that time, it's going to save you a lot of guilt, shame, time. Capricorn South Node, I believe in that. Achieve,
So if you're a beginner, it's as simple as asking yourself, what is it in you that you wish you could change? This is the question I always ask my students. If there was something about your personality that bugged you, so you can just write this down, something about you that bugs you, you write it down and then we reframe it. So the trick is taking a negative, like for example, I used to think I was way too sensitive. I got my feelings hurt all the time. I was the person that I didn't tell anyone because I have water. So I was a secret keeper. And then as I realized, wait a minute, that's my gift. It's what makes me a good teacher. I have compassion. And I changed it from being complaining about it to I have the ability to cry and it's okay. That was a turning point. So
Mhm.
that was just an example, but you find something about yourself when you go, God, can you give us one, Stormy? If there's something you could change about you,
Oh
what?
yeah, for a long time, I will tell you, it was the same thing with you though. I found it was a gift. For a long time, I was like, gosh, I wish I had more to say. Because I was like, those little wind up monkeys that just kind of go, tack, 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 but they're not actually doing anything. That was it. I had all of these words, but I didn't have anywhere to put them. And then when I realized one day that that was my gift, is that I'm a high air chart, I was like, oh, I just need to have the thing to talk about.
Such a wisdom keeper. Now that's wise. So you find the trait that bugs you and you insert
Mm.
a function. So in your case, it was, I'm going to talk about astrology and use this gift of the gab. For me, I took my sensitivity and turned into a counselor, into a healer, because I realized, wow, it's a curse to me, but it's a blessing to them. So you reframe, you start to think about what can I contribute? And the elemental conversation is essential because there's things that won't go away. Like I, for example, have a lot of fire. I work out every day since I was a kid. I was started off as a dancer professionally. Then I was, did cheerleading in high school. Then I did gymnastics. Then I started to be a bicyclist. So I've had physical energy. And at first it was like, is there an off button on this thing? Like, how do you make this thing? And then I realized, no, this is an asset. As long as I can, focus it and have, to your point, the service. So it's exactly what you just said. How do I take this funny, crazy energy I have and aim it with the intention of serving the other? And as soon as I did that, have a company now and everybody's so inspired. And I'm like, well, that's good because I have enough energy for all 12 of us.
Right. Right. But it's interesting. I don't know if you found this with people, but it's like sometimes I'll hear people say, oh, well, I'm an Aries, but I actually don't like to move that quickly. And I'm very slow. And this is where I always love for people to go back. I'm like, well, let's look at your chart's elemental balance because it may be telling you a different story. And my husband and I are a great example. He is an Aries, but he has a heavy earth chart. I am an earth sign, but I have a heavy air chart. So
Bingo.
the way that we do things, you can see it. You can see it.
So that's a really important point. You must know this if you're watching this. You are not just your sun sign. The culmination shows up in the constitution of your elemental distribution. So if you have four elements, and if you have four planets in one element, first let's start with two. Usually it's like 3 2 2 2, or it's 4 1 1 3. Like they always equal 10 because we only use the sun, moon, all the planets.
Right.
And I can quickly look at your chart and say, to your point, Stormy, you're more air and you don't have water. So then you say, good, let's cultivate your air. And then next thing you know, she's on a podcast and she's sitting here sharing with all of us using her air. And I'm sure your husband does earth. What does he do with all his earth?
Oh my gosh, he is so funny. He goes and he helps people find houses. That is his literal job.
Oh my God, that's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
so earth. Does he have so much Taurus?
No, he's got a ton of Virgo. He's
So he's
Virgo Aries energy. He
and
is
he's
a
helping people
helper.
find houses. I love that's so earth.
Yeah, and he helps veterans find housing.
That's so service. I love that
I know.
story.
And he's got a Venus in Pisces, which I was like, honey, I have a Venus in Aries. You better get it together. Like you're gonna have to get it together.
This is compatibility. So the first thing before we get compatible is you've got to get comfortable in your own skin, figure out your constitution. Then you look over at your husband and your kids. That's really been helpful for me.
Yeah.
And then you understand the kids, then you understand the husband. You go, oh, so your Venus is in Pisces. Shh, I'll leave you in the other room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My little Venus in Aries is cranking it up and turning on the colors. I hope you're okay with that. I got my room, you got your room. Now we get along.
Yes. Oh, it's been prime too with my children, like you said, and understanding what they need, right? Like, because communication, since I've all this air, I did realize has to be sent and received. So it was like, well, how do you need to receive that? Or why is that your response? Which is sometimes not just about the psychology, but it is literally, I got a high amount of air coming at an earth person, right? And that may take them a minute to think about what I said. I'm like,
Yes.
I don't understand. Why don't you just say things back? I said things, you should say things. So if I'm just seeing it from my perspective, but when I can understand another person's element, it does bring in, like you said, to your point, that compassion of, oh, you're having your own human process separate from me.
I have this vivid memory of sitting next to my son, and he was like 14 at the time, in a really deep emotional state with a Grand Trine and water. And I went in his room, "How was your day?" Because I've got enough air for all of us. "How was your day? Tell me." And he was just,
Mhm.
and I just kept going and then I realized I was annoying. I was a gnat. I was the fly. And that the best thing I could do to match his element was to sit next to him and be quiet.
Yes.
So then I started
Yes.
learning how to go in the room, and to your point, to how do I have a conversation with a water person? You slow it down.
Mhm.
You touch them. And
Mhm.
then after the time went by, the whole story unfolded. But you cannot match your energy with someone else's until you understand the different elemental constitutions. And once you do, it's like dancing.
Yeah. It's a game changer. It is a whole mood life changer to just understand the elements and to
Okay,
be with them. I don't know, has that, I mean, you're in Hawaii. I just feel like you're in the heat of be with the elements, right?
every day. I'm in
Yeah.
deep, that's what hula is. I'm in deep worship of the four elements. I just want to say, I want to send you a book. I'm making sure I'm getting your address when we're done with this, because that book, the first chapter of my book is called Crisis. And that's why it sold like hotcakes during COVID. Because I said, our society forgot the wisdom of the elders. The elements were brought to us across time. Slow down, take off your shoes, drink the water, remember to drink, smell the wine, make sure that that food, all the elements must be, I'm talking to a Taurus,
I know,
see.
I'm in.
So it's an elemental, experiential, and yes, Hawaii is conducive, and studying astrology is the quickest way to return to the wisdom of the elders, because we're in crisis. Hello, like, look what's going on right now. It
Yeah.
was a surprise to the astrologers this was coming.
Oh no. Oh no. And even the non-astrologers though, who have an active kind of nature practice, people who are, I'm from Colorado, so we do a lot of hiking trails, 14ers here. It was this sense of something's different out there. Something is different out there, and it's like that's why we become hot ticket items again, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, all of the structures are failing us. We got to go back to nature.
It's true. So the nature is learning about stars. I mean, it's a very net, this whole
Mm,
practice is not theory. These are real objects that control the movement of the waters on this planet. You can look at Saturn in no uncertain terms. We can predict Saturn return will shift the whole of your world. When you're 28 to 30, 58 to 60, it's not a mystery. So
mhm.
we know that nature, in the name of stars, I get to sleep in Hawaii. I sleep outside actually. And literally the moon wakes me up in the middle of the night. And I just say to it, thank you for giving me a direct experience of knowing your influence. Because, a full moon, I can't sleep during a full moon. I really feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, that is so beautiful.
let nature, let us remember to eat this life alive. Let us not go vague and think. It's because you're watching YouTube, you're caught in astrology in your head, and back at the ranch your body's going, what about me? And you must keep your attention on the sensual pleasures, on the delight. But it's not easy,
Yeah.
because the first element is water, and we're emotionally so vulnerable as humans, especially during COVID. It's such a tender time as a human,
Mhm.
politically, at every level, globally, at the climate level. So we must honor the
Mhm.
vulnerable. And that's the name of water, and learn to meditate and pray. May we all learn what it is to be tender and not resist our vulnerability. We must all remember about air, speaking what you're doing today, talking about this stuff and getting so curious and
Yeah.
so intellectually stimulated, and sharing with your friends and saying, come on, you can open up to astrology. That's the value of air. May we all have fresh air in our life and listen as people speak, even when you don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And then earth, the delicious part of earth, I call it secret sauce. May we all remember what it is to actually smell the coffee, smell the toast, eat the food, and like, I can't believe what Mother Nature, said the Hawaiian girl, gives to us. And then, of course, may we all remember to do our prayers over our food and not take for granted the abundance of this life. And last is the fire, the passion, which you have so much of. Oh, I'm so excited. May we never forget the joy of being in a body. And remember, you didn't get pushed on the bus. You volunteered for this exercise. You came, and you may not remember choosing it, but life chose you and handed you that chart. Now, if you can't remember, that's why you come study, because you can't live this life unconsciously, or the fire will go out It will get dull and boring and scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
And
so
you
funny.
reactivate our fire. Look at the fire in your room. Everywhere in your room is fire behind your head. Light.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is it. This is conscious living over here. It's the fire. It's multiple microphones. It's, it
The
is,
red shirt you got on.
yes, my red shirt. It's the actual activation of that chart. And for each of us, I love that we eat and greet and we show up together, because I do think we do exactly what you're saying. We're saying, even if I don't fully remember, I do think I did agree.
Of course you did. And if you don't remember, that's so important. If you lost your memory of why you chose this planet, because you didn't get pushed on the bus, it's a volunteer job here. But once you get down, it gets so confusing. Like we forget ourselves. I don't know. It's amnesia. It's almost mean.
It's like we're spiritual narcoleptics. We're like, oh yeah, I gotta wake up. I gotta live spiritually. Oh yeah, I gotta be conscious.
Right now.
Yeah, isn't that funny though?
Narcoleptics. We fall asleep right in the middle of the movie, and we don't remember we chose this. So now we're here today on this YouTube channel to say, wake up, and then say to yourself, what happened? Am I in the right spot? Did I remember to choose this, or did I get pushed on the bus? Because your chart, you don't have to believe in astrology. It believes in you. It's following you around.
Yeah,
you cannot get rid of your chart. Hello.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even if you don't believe in astrology, it's okay, because just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true. Just because I believe it doesn't mean that it is. There is this real gray space, right? But either way, I always bring people back to, is the way you're living, is the way that you're doing this particular task, is it working for you? And if the answer is no, come back to the elements. Maybe
You're just singing my song. Come back, make it all super simple, and ask yourself, of those 4 elements, which one got shut down? Am I able to meditate and be still? Do I have words? Do I love the physical experience here and know how to clean my closet in the car? And am I actually having fun? If any of those are no, or all of them are no, you better come study.
Right. Yeah. Because we will help you waken it back up. And it doesn't make the ride perfect. That's not the point.
No.
But it sure does make it more enjoyable. And I think more than anything, it makes it so they can do the work that you're here to do.
Because we made a promise. You don't get here without a contract. That's what Saturn is. So it's a contract. You made a contract.
True.
I think the sun is my boss. When I do every day, I do a ritual where I stare at the sun and I bow my head and I just say, I'm all yours. Let me be of service to you. Because I came here with a promise. I mean, maybe we can't remember, but you remembered at 6.
I remembered some things.
Some souls came in and their memory comes right back. And some are like, what'd you call it? Spiritual
narcoleptics. Spiritual narcoleptics. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I know I look at my oldest daughter and she's so funny. I just remember holding her when she got here and I was like, oh God, you're so new. You have were you like a deer before? Because this is going to be really painful for the first little bit. And it so proved to be so, because she just could not understand why her arms did this. How do her fingers move like this? And she would ask those questions and traditional, human things. She could not conceptualize how or why we would do that. It wasn't kind. It was out of the flow of nature. Why would you do that? Right. And so I was like, I just remember holding her. But then I had my second daughter and I'm like, look, I get it. You're recycled. Get it this time. I'm not taking any of your shit. Okay. You've already done this a couple lifetimes. Get it together.
Wow.
So it was a very uniquely different experience of these 2 humans. And I have all the fire signs here. I've got one of each.
Wow. So you've got one that's a brand new soul that feels like she just got here.
Yeah. And thank God she's 17 now, because some of it has kicked in.
What sign is she?
She's a Sag.
So is she having fun even though it's awkward? Well, Sag are kind of sloppy. They're kind of goofy anyway.
Yeah, I know. So it was like a big old combo of like, whoa, okay, hold on, honey. But her conceptualization of how it was all happening, it just was so wonderful, Deborah, to watch her. And I don't know if you guys out there have had that experience of watching a new soul, or if you're aware that you're watching a new soul. And it's not necessarily that the soul is new, but it's like their first time in a body where you're like, oh, you were the family parrot for like 100 years, weren't you? And now they gave you a form.
It's so interesting. And I had one of my sons was so old that when he was in preschool, they made him sit on that line around the circle. They put a little piece of paper on that, like a tape, and he wouldn't sit on it. And he said to me, I do not need a line to tell me where to sit. Like, I was like, uh-oh. Then when he did a pledge of allegiance to the flag, he was 5, he wouldn't say it. And the teacher pulled him aside and she said to me, your son won't say I pledge allegiance to the flag. And he said, I am not talking to a dumb flag. Like, this is such an old soul. He doesn't want to be told what to do. What am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I understand. I got the old one. He was so old. He sat like this since he was like, anyways, they come in different sizes and shapes. This is Astrology 101. I love, and I have one of our astrologers on our team works specifically with children. It's her specialty. How do you understand the kid so you can facilitate their elemental distribution on their terms?
Yes.
Big conversation. Big conversation.
That is a family dynamic changing conversation.
And we have an entire part of our school that's devoted to family dynamics. She's so brilliant. We have another one of our team players who's really good at relationship. You'd love her. She only does synastry. We have another one of ours that works specifically with business executives. We have a whole, it's so fun to see. This is astrology. Everyone has different interests. And in our school, while you all learn the basics to start with, you get to branch out to find, because we support 100% uniqueness. Because what is astrology if it's not diversity?
Yeah. Well, and you can't individualize by trying to be somebody else. You have to go find what you're here to do.
I know. I would say be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Yeah, it's true. And they're expensive.
And there's no such thing as normal. It's just a setting on the dryer. Like, give up normal.
Yeah, well, and the normal, I mean, really, I think if we look even at our world between 2012 and like 2017, right in that time frame, just it was not that long ago, and normal looked really different. And today, people are like, "Oh my God, do you know what my therapist said? Oh my God, I can't go. I can't go. I got an appointment with my astrologer," and that's like the new norm, and it's back. You know what I mean? So it's like it was not even that long ago that it's like, okay, well, what's normal?
I love that you're seeing that, because as an elder who's in her 60s, I look back and I think when I went to go to graduate school and told them I wanted to study astrology, I said, I want to just combine astrology and psychology. And they were like, what?
Yeah.
And I insisted because I knew, and now it's the new rave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was going through my master's and doctoral work, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put astrology and business together, because I don't really care about your business. Your business is just a soul that's only sick because the humans are sick. And that's what I did. Right. And it was, people were like, yeah, okay, figure out how to do it. But if I would have said that in 2004, nobody would have known really how to help me do that. Or maybe I wouldn't have had the space to do that, you know?
So here's the good news, guys. Things are changing, and it's headed towards our direction, because Jupiter's in Aquarius and Saturn's in Aquarius, and we're entering a new era where it's okay to be weird. It's okay to have metaphysics as a normal word. Like, I remember as a kid, I didn't know what the word meant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at 6 years old, there your mom took you to that fair. This is the future. We're in the future. It's 60 miles east of here, right around the corner from you. And you are leading the way by studying and listening to us. You're making a difference. So keep your astrology mind open, please. Never limit the possibilities of this endless study in the science that goes on in every direction across time. Welcome to astrology, where there's no end in sight.
Welcome, 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 man. And I tell you what, from a Libra stellium, come on in. The water is great. You're only going to go so far on your own anyways. That's the evolutionary understanding of Libra. Like, come on, y'all.
And Mercury and Gemini on your midheaven.
Oh, I know. God help us.
That is such. And so do you write? That would tell me that you have the gift of the writer.
Can I just tell you that I hate writing?
That's what most Geminis say, but you don't. Why do you hate it? Tell me why you hate it.
Oh, I just do not enjoy the physical process of it. I don't like the thinking that goes behind it. So I'll just tell you, with a doctorate degree, I didn't write that thing. I voice to texted it.
I knew. I was gonna.
I just don't enjoy it. And you know what? I stopped that whole game a long time ago. Maybe when I get to the fire side of my life, I will say, you know what? I need to write. But I will tell you this, when it comes to a daily spiritual practice, pen to paper all the time.
Oh.
But that's not writing anything other than a conversation with me and the universe. And I will write that every time. If I need a solution, I'll put pen to paper every time. But you asked me to write an article. Oh, kill me now. Like
So
I will
you
voice
know
to
when
text it.
spirit talks to you, it comes through air.
Mhm. Yep.
But you don't want to, I can appreciate it. You don't want to use that brain thing where it's just all stupid thinking. You want spirit to show up with wisdom.
Yeah. And I somatically do not like the feeling of sitting to write. I don't even like texting. I'm like, ugh, like it lights my body up. And I'm like,
So
I don't enjoy
Taurus.
this at
So
all.
Taurus. So you're just wanting the real thing. You just don't want to have all that technical thing.
Yeah. I'm like, look, I just want to eat and say things on the internet. And if I can do that,
I just want to use my mouth. If I can eat, if I can orally say it, if I can taste it, I'm in. Oh my God, that's so Taurus.
yeah, which
100%.
is funny too, because in the comment section, people say this a lot. They notice when we do eat and greets, because I'll talk and then I interact with the people in the chat. And that, if I can do that and I can be busy like that, that I love.
And have you been doing that now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Are people talking to you right now in that room?
Yeah.
What did they say? Tell me what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, first of all, they were like, oh my gosh, I love this. Does she have the YouTube ads? And I'm like, this is her, guys. I found her.
Did she have the YouTube ads? You
Isn't
got to
that the best?
That's the cutest thing. Go on YouTube, put Debra Silverman Aries. A 5-minute video will come on. There'll be 300,000 hits for just that video, and you are going to laugh. Yes, I am the YouTube. YouTube was the answer to my entrance level to the study of me being able to teach people. Oh my God, is she the girl with the ads? That is
Oh
so
my God, but I love that. I love that. Isn't it great? Because here's the thing for me. I like will watch people on YouTube or TV or whatever, right? And then I get to sit with them and it makes them real. It makes them real. And we're all out there connected to the astrology, Deborah, doing our things, doing our schools or whatever. But there are all these people who just kind of see us fly by for a minute and now we're stopped and they're here and they're present with the YouTube ad lady and she's saying the great things and we've done a hula moment. I mean, it's been too good. It's been too good.
Okay, just tell me one more thing that they said, and then we have to go. Read me another one of those. I like hearing from people.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Let me go back up here. Oh, somebody's talking about time as a blueprint. Did you talk about that? Is that something you were talking about? Time as
Okay.
a blueprint, maybe?
As a blueprint. Time is the measuring device that helps not everything happen at once. If we didn't have time, we'd all be going, boom.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Time
gosh.
breaks things up into increments. Well, I'm just glad to know the YouTube channel that you're on is supporting. I love Stephen Forrest's work. I spent many years reading all of these astrologers, and then suddenly I became one. I didn't mean to.
Yeah. I tell you what, it's a real riot because although I came through the lens of Forest, I do realize I have a Titan high Mercury and that opposes a Uranus down there. I'm like, it's all fair game as long as we're talking about the spirit and it can be helpful. Right. So that's how I
You
think I
became your
found, yeah, this big place. But it's also that place that makes me excited to have you and have other guests here because it makes me realize the island is big, spacious, roomy, all inclusive. There's space and place for all of us. And if we'll work together, it's really just about getting our students to the teachers that they can hear at that time.
Exactly, exactly.
That's
You
it.
resonate immediately. You'll meet, like I would resonate with you. I would come study with you because I love all your Libra. But you guys figure out what teacher, one of our gifts is simple. I teach it in a very simple way, but there's all kinds of evolutionary astrology, Stephen Forrest. There's all kinds of astrology hub. And I love that you're including, so this is something that I love about astrology. We are not exclusive. This science goes on in every direction. There are so many different ways to learn. I am the practical teacher. My whole thing is applied astrology. That's what our school is. So here's how it goes. It's 6 weeks long. Once a week for 2 hours, you're on a Zoom call with only 10 people in the room. Your chart comes on the Zoom. Your teacher teaches you. It starts with the elements, and it goes to your Mercury and the aspects, just to your, like you would be singled out immediately because she's got Mercury on the midheaven. So everything would stop and we'd say, oh, Stormie, this lifetime with Mercury on your midheaven, you promised to be our voice. Oh, that's funny, she says. I have a YouTube channel. So in the very first class, we simplify what is the nature of your conversation? What's the standout piece in your chart? The next class we do is the North Node. And we call it the shortcut to enlightenment. And we look at the South Node, and yours is in Cancer, to see where your comfort level was. But this lifetime, you promised to do business. And so she went and studied business with astrology. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're amazing. And then the last class is Saturn, the beginner class. What's your life lesson? What's your purpose? And what's the timing of your chart? So you finish those 6 weeks, you meet once a week. You pick out of 30 different class times which class works for you. It's $1,000 the class. You can do it in 4 payments. You can do it in 6 payments. And at the end of level 1, you're addicted. I hate to say this, but at that point you're like, and then level 2 is the nuts and bolts, the aspects, the transits, the progressions, how to interpret a reading. And you know what we do at the end of level 2? We force the student to do a reading. We give you a client, you record it, you send it to your mentor, and you get feedback. Because my theory is astrology, people just study till their heads fall off.
You got to talk.
You got to apply it.
So we say things.
Give you a sacred script, and we show you just the first 3 topics, because you can fly around. The biggest comment I get from professional astrologers that study with us is that Debra gave me a structure, because I am very structured, because my Mercury's in Taurus. So it's a very concrete, simple system. You can go anywhere you want and make it yours, as I described. Every one of my astrologers has unique versions. However, there's a simple structure, and that liberates you from thinking, I don't know where to go. And because I'm a trained psychotherapist, it's specifically addressing your client, not you just talking to yourself in gibberish, because they don't know astrology. They want you to say, yes, that guy you're with, he is not compatible with you. They need concrete information. And that's what our system is about.
Which is just beautiful. As a Taurus,
yes,
I support fully. So we're going to make sure that the link to the school and to you and to the book are all in the description box down below. You guys, if this is up your alley, if this is where you're pointing and this is what you're ready for, then jump in there and absolutely take the leap, but study. Something's got you here, so study.
So, Stormie, here's the coolest thing. So if you can't afford the $1,000, we have a program called CS, which is Continual Stars. It's a continual ed class. And then the classes are only $200 or $300, and you can take a class on the houses, or you can take a class. That won't start till the spring, but we're just starting a new program called Continual Stars. And by the way, we're going to invite other astrologers to come in and teach, just so people can afford to come in and just take one class on the planets. So that's coming soon to your neighborhood. So if you're interested in that, is CS, just those 2 letters, Continual Stars, at Debra Silverman Astrology. We'll put you on the mailing list and let you know when the classes are coming up, because that's my way of, I want astrology accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have the same mission, you and I. I mean, really, it's not a surprise my son lights up your midheaven. We're on the exact same job.
Absolutely. And that's right. Like, and so it's just like, okay, the next one of us in the next generational line is coming. So let's get them ready.
Are your daughters interested?
Oh, my daughters are my cute little employees. They know what they're doing over here.
They're playing astrology?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my younger one, she like loves it a lot less than my older one. She's in, my Sag is all in all the time. My younger one knows it and can tell you, but it's almost annoying to her until somebody needs something. And then she's like, well, how old are you? Oh, okay. So that's probably a Jupiter cycle. And I'm like, you see, she's getting it. I don't care how she feels about it. She's getting it.
My dream. You just fulfilled my dream that in the future, the children will know astrology. This is my dream.
Well, but it comes from the understanding that they are not separate from their astrology. And as I have watched those charts as a parent, I am like, I am not in control of keeping you from your chart. So I will watch it and understand when chart and life come together that you have a chart too. And it was never my job to protect you from it. Right. And that makes parenting a little bit less scary because it's the most powerless journey I've ever been on.
I know. I always say children come batteries included with no instructions.
Absolutely, except for a chart, which I'm like, well, that is damn.
But that's the shortcut. I know. I'm so thankful. Well, this has been the best interview ever.
Yeah, it's been a real ride, huh? Like, I just am so happy. I'm
all the way from Hawaii. Yes. Is there anything that I can serve? Is there anything else I want to tell you about? That's a good question. I think I asked myself the question.
I think so, but that was great.
The schools only open twice a year. So if you don't get into January, it won't happen again until September. So that's important to know. And CS, the continual stars, will be all through the year. You can just put your name on the mailing list and we'll keep you in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
And the most important thing during this unbelievable Jupiter, Saturn, and Aquarius is please share the diversity of this universe. We're not here to judge people. I mean, I want to judge them all day. And I
But
do
that's not
everything I
useful.
can. I know it's not my job.
No, no. All right, friends, we're going to wrap it up here. And I am so grateful that you came over, Debra. You said yes. We had a good fire and air situation happen here. It was lovely. I am invigorated. I hope you feel the same. And you guys down there, I hope that in this last bit of time we've been together, we gave you something that was worth the time you took to show up. You will study, you will support astrology in all of its different dimensions. Debra's school is going, the Kickstart is going. There is astrology available to meet you where you're at. So come engage. Okay. All right, you guys, I love you so much. We'll be back in the Eat and Greet saddle on Monday talking about the Mercury retrograde cycle of 2021 with Greg Crawford. So I will see you beautiful humans then. Bye, everybody.